So have you ever like learned a new word in English
Yeah.
and you think, okay, yeah, I got this, and then you need to use it
Yeah.
and it's just gone, poof, like vanished from your brain?
Oh, absolutely.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
I think it happens to a lot of people.
Like I'm on struggle.
So that's what we're diving into today, all about memorizing English words. We've got a ton of your notes, a couple of articles, even a clip from a podcast,
Hmm.
and all about this.
Sounds like a good collection.
Yeah. The mission is to find like the best tips
Mm-hmm.
to make sure we don't forget these words.
Yes, absolutely. Because forgetting new vocabulary is totally normal, but it's not something we just have to accept, right? We can learn strategies to actually remember these words.
Totally. Because like the bigger your vocabulary is, you just sound so much more fluent
Exactly.
and confident,
You got it.
which is what we all want, right? To
Exactly.
be able to express ourselves. And I was reading one of these notes, and it was talking about how someone tried to say melancholy in a conversation,
Oh, yeah.
and it came out melancholy.
Oh.
I mean, I guess if you're really sad about fruit,
Yeah, maybe.
but not quite the same.
Not quite what they were going for.
So yeah, what are some of the big challenges that you see people facing when they're trying to learn new words?
I think the biggest one is what we just talked about, that feeling of words just slipping away. You put in all that work to learn it, and then poof,
It's gone.
it's gone. And that can be really discouraging.
Totally. But I think another challenge is like, even if you remember the word, sometimes you don't know how to use it, you know?
Yes.
Like you see it on a vocab list, you're like, okay, I
Yeah.
know what this means. But to actually put it into a sentence,
Yeah, yeah. That's a whole other skill.
it is.
So it's not just about knowing the definition, it's understanding how to actually use it.
Right. Like you said, melancholy.
Exactly.
Like I know what melancholy means,
Right.
but when would I use it? Like in a sentence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it comes down to context.
Context.
Knowing a definition is one thing, but being able to apply it in different situations, that's where you really master a word.
I feel like maybe people are also afraid to like use a new word. Like what if they use it wrong?
Oh, for sure. Fear of making a mistake. It can definitely hold people back.
Because you're like putting yourself out there
Exactly.
and like risking sounding silly.
Right.
But I guess that's part of learning, right?
It is. It's part of the process.
So how do we get over that? And like, how do we actually make these words stick? I know one of the things that's mentioned a lot is flashcards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are those still a good way to learn?
I think they can be, but you have to use them the right way.
So not like just your average
Yeah.
word on one side,
Right, yeah.
definition on the other.
Exactly. Those can be helpful, but we can do so much more with them now.
Okay, so like what's a more modern take on flashcards?
Well, first of all, there are all these digital flashcard apps now, like Anki or Memrise.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those.
You use this thing called spaced repetition.
Spaced repetition.
Yeah, so basically, you review the words at different intervals.
Oh.
So the ones you're struggling with, you see more often,
Oh, that's smart.
and then the ones you've got down, you see less often.
So it helps you actually remember them long term.
Exactly.
I feel like I would have saved so much time if I'd known about this back in school.
Right.
Just cramming everything the night before a test.
Yeah, that doesn't work very well.
Not very effective.
Yeah.
So we've got the digital flashcards. What else can we do to make them even better?
Well, one thing you can do is add visuals.
Visual.
Yeah, like pictures or even short videos.
Okay.
Because our brains are really good at remembering visual information.
That's true.
So instead of just a word and a definition.
You could have a picture that goes with it.
Exactly.
So like if the word is exquisite, you could have a picture of like, I don't know, a really beautiful painting or a piece of jewelry
Yeah, or a stunning sunset.
or a sunset. That's much more interesting than just a definition.
Right, it makes it more memorable.
And it kind of brings the word to life a little bit. So you're not just memorizing.
Yeah.
You're actually like understanding it.
You're making connections.
Right. Okay, so we got flashcards. Supercharged flashcards. What about that whole context thing we were talking about?
Yeah, so that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
So one of the best ways to learn words in context is to actually use them,
Okay,
like right away.
so not just reading the definition.
Right. Don't just read it, use it.
So like create a sentence.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to come up with a sentence using that new word.
So if I'm learning the word procrastinate, which I do a lot of,
Yeah,
I could say something like, I procrastinated on doing this deep dive.
exactly. Perfect example.
Okay, cool.
And the more personal you can make it,
right.
the better. Yeah, like relate it to your own life, your own experience.
So it's more meaningful.
Exactly. You're activating more parts of your brain.
Interesting.
You're making it relevant to you.
And then I'm more likely to remember it.
Exactly.
That makes sense. I like that.
And you can even take it a step further, like write a short story.
A story.
Yeah. Or even just a dialogue, using a few new words you're learning.
Ooh, that's a good idea. That sounds kind of fun.
It can be. And it's really effective.
So it's all about like being active, not just passive,
Exactly.
like actually using the words.
Yeah. Get them out of your head
Yeah.
and into the real world.
Okay, that makes sense.
And speaking of the real world, that's another great way to learn words in context
Oh, how so?
by paying attention to how they're used in real life situations.
Right.
So like when you're reading a news article or watching a movie, listening to a podcast.
You're like actively listening
Yeah.
and noticing how they're using the words.
Exactly. You're absorbing the language
Yeah.
in its natural habitat.
I like that. Natural
Yeah.
habitat. It's like you're not even studying,
Right.
but you're still learning.
You're learning by osmosis.
Osmosis.
Yeah.
I like that. So we've got flashcards. Context. Are there other things we can do to make learning vocab more fun?
Definitely. Games and activities can be really helpful.
Games. Okay, tell me more.
So there's this one I like to use called Happy Run Giant.
Happy Run Giant.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds interesting. How does that work?
It's really simple. I give you a word, and you have to tell me what it means,
Oh.
and then use it in a sentence as fast as you can.
Okay, like a speed round.
Exactly.
I like it. I'm ready.
All right. Your first word is serendipity.
Serendipity. Okay, so serendipity means like a happy accident.
Right.
Or a fortunate coincidence. So like
Yeah.
it was pure serendipity that I ran into you today for this podcast.
Perfect. You got it.
Okay, I'm feeling good.
See how that works? Like
Yeah.
you had to think about it. You had to use it.
Yeah.
And that helps you remember it.
Totally. Okay, give me another one.
All right. Next word is ephemeral.
Ephemeral. Ooh, that's a good one.
Huh.
Ephemeral means something that's fleeting
Yeah.
or short-lived. Like the beauty of a flower is ephemeral.
Beautiful sentence.
Okay.
You're on a roll.
All right. Give me one more.
Okay, last one. Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous. Ooh, that's a tough one. Ubiquitous means something that's everywhere. Like cell phones are ubiquitous these days.
Yes, you nailed it.
I feel like I just ran a marathon.
Done.
But like a vocabulary marathon.
All right.
So why is this Happy Run Giant thing so effective?
Because it forces you to actively recall the information.
Active recall.
Yeah. Instead of just passively reading it, you're really having to dig into your brain.
To find the word
Exactly.
and then use it.
And that strengthens those connections in your brain.
So it's like a mental workout
Okay.
for our vocabulary.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got flashcards, context, games. This is starting to feel like a pretty good toolkit. But is there anything beyond these kind of core techniques?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Because I feel like we need all the help we can get.
We do, and we're going to dive into that right after the break.
So we were talking about going beyond those core techniques, really immersing yourself in the language.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, how do we make English part of our everyday life, even when we're not, like, sitting down studying?
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of little things you can do that can make a big difference.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about the technology you use every day, like your phone.
No?
What language is it set to?
Good point. It's set to English.
See?
Yeah.
You're already doing it.
I guess I am.
But even if you're already using English on your phone, you can still make it more of a learning experience
Yeah, okay. Oh,
by paying attention to the words you're seeing.
okay.
Like when you get a notification
Yeah.
or you're reading an article. Don't just skim over the words.
Yeah, I do that a lot.
We all do. But if you slow down
Yeah.
and really look at the words.
Like try to understand them.
Exactly.
That's when the learning happens.
Right. And it's not just about your phone.
Okay, what else?
Think about the things you enjoy doing, like watching movies
Oh, yeah.
or listening to music.
Or playing video games.
Oh, exactly. Can you do any of those things in English?
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch some shows with English subtitles,
That's a great start.
but sometimes I find myself just like watching the picture and not really paying attention to the words.
Yeah. That's a common
Oh,
problem.
I fixed that.
Well, you could try pausing the show every now and then and looking up words you don't know.
Okay.
Or you could even try predicting what a character is going to say based on the context.
Ooh, that's a good idea. It's like a game.
Right. It makes it more fun.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you're actually engaging with the language.
Instead of just passively watching.
Exactly.
What about reading?
Reading is another great way to immerse yourself.
But sometimes it feels overwhelming.
I know what you mean, but it
Maybe.
doesn't have to be.
Okay, any tips?
Start small.
Small.
Yeah, like Choose articles or stories that are interesting to you.
Okay.
And don't worry about understanding every single word.
Really?
Just focus on getting the main idea.
Okay.
And if you come across a word that seems important.
Then I look it up.
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
And another tip for reading.
Yeah.
Try reading aloud.
Out loud.
Yeah. It can feel a little awkward at first,
I was going to say.
but it really helps you internalize the words. You're
Yeah.
hearing them, you're saying them, and you're seeing them.
It's like a triple whammy. Exactly.
Okay, I'm going to try that.
You should. It's a really effective technique.
Cool. So we've got technology, entertainment, reading. Is there anything else we can do to make our environment more Englishy?
Let me think. Oh, I know. Label everything in your house.
Everything.
Yeah, like put sticky notes on your furniture.
On my furniture
Yeah.
with the English word.
Exactly.
So like chair, table, lamp.
Yep. It sounds silly,
It does.
but it works.
Totally.
Because you're constantly seeing those words.
And then they just start to sink in.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. It's like turning my house into a giant English lesson.
It is. Your own personal English immersion zone.
Immersion zone.
Yeah.
I like that. So we've talked about a lot of different strategies, but I'm guessing it's still easy to get discouraged when you're learning a language. Oh, absolutely. It's a long process.
It is.
And there are going to be ups and downs.
So how do you stay motivated?
Well, first of all, be kind to yourself.
Kind to myself.
Yeah. Don't beat yourself up if you make mistakes.
Or if you forget words.
Exactly. Everyone does it.
Even you.
Even me.
Okay, good to know.
And another thing that can help is to focus on the progress you're making
Okay.
instead of the mistakes.
So like celebrate the small wins.
Exactly. Did you learn a new word today?
Yeah.
That's a win.
Okay.
Did you use that word in a conversation?
Okay.
That's another win.
I like that.
It's all about those small victories.
It's like a video game.
It is. You level up each time you learn something new.
Ooh. I like that analogy.
And another thing that can really help is to find a support system.
A support system.
Yeah, like other people who are learning English,
Oh, okay.
because they understand what you're going through.
And you can like encourage each other.
Exactly.
Where do you find these people?
There are lots of places. Online forums, social media groups.
Language exchange apps?
Yep. All sorts of places.
Cool. So you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Okay, good. That's reassuring.
And it's also important to set realistic goals.
Realistic goals.
Yeah. Don't try to learn too much too quickly.
Okay.
Start small and gradually increase the difficulty.
So like don't try to memorize the entire dictionary.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Focus on a few words at a time and really master them.
Quality over quantity.
Exactly.
I could do that.
And be patient.
Patient.
Yeah. Learning a language takes time.
It does.
There's no quick fix.
Okay, no shortcuts?
No shortcuts.
So just keep practicing.
Keep practicing. And don't give up.
And have fun.
Yes. That's the most important thing.
Okay, but how do you make it fun?
Well, we've talked about games, but there are lots of other ways. Like find things you're interested in
Okay.
and try to learn English through those things.
So like if I like to cook,
Yeah.
I could find English recipes.
Big.
Or watch cooking shows in English.
Perfect example.
I like that.
It's all about making it personal and finding what works for you.
So there's no one right way to learn.
Nope. Everyone's different.
Okay, good.
Experiment with different techniques until you find what you enjoy.
And what helps you learn.
Exactly.
So it's all about the journey,
It is.
not the destination.
Well, the destination is important too,
True.
but the journey is what makes it fun.
Okay, I like that. So we've talked about a lot of different things today. Flashcards, context, immersion, support systems. It's been a lot of information.
It has.
But I think the main takeaway is that learning English doesn't have to be boring.
No, it doesn't.
It can actually be fun
It can be.
if you find the right approach.
Exactly.
And if you remember to celebrate those small wins.
Absolutely.
So to our listener out there, we challenge you to find what works for you and keep exploring the amazing world of English words.
And don't forget to have fun along the way.
Okay, before we wrap up, I believe you had one final thought-provoking question to leave our listener with.
I do, and it has to do with the words themselves.
Okay, tell me more.
So we've talked about connecting words to your own life to make them more memorable.
Yeah,
But have you ever thought about the stories behind the words?
the stories behind the words. What do you mean?
Well, every word has a history, an etymology, a story of how it came to be.
Oh, well.
And sometimes those stories can be really fascinating.
Like what?
Well, for example, did you know that the word salary,
Sailor.
yeah, comes from the Latin word for salt?
Salt. Really? I
Yeah.
had no idea.
It's because in ancient Rome, soldiers were often paid in salt.
They were paid in salt.
Yep.
Why salt?
Because it was a valuable commodity back then.
Oh,
So the word salary evolved from that practice.
wow. That's so interesting.
Right.
I'm never going to forget that now.
Exactly. And that's what I mean by the stories behind words.
It's like a whole other layer of meaning.
It is. It's like a secret code.
A secret code that unlocks the history of the language.
I like that.
So I encourage you to start exploring those stories.
Okay, I will. I'm already thinking of all the words I want to look up.
It's a fun way to learn.
And it makes the words more memorable
Exactly.
because you have that story attached to them.
Right.
Okay, this has been an incredible deep dive. We've learned so much
Yeah.
about how to memorize English words and make them stick.
And how to make it fun.
Yes, definitely. So, to our listener out there, we hope you've enjoyed this deep dive, and we challenge you to take what you've learned and put it into practice.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to experiment
Yeah.
and find what works for you.
And most importantly, have fun.
Yes. Have fun.
Until next time, keep diving deep.
And it just adds like another dimension to the words you're learning.
Yeah, it's like they're not just words anymore. They have these stories behind them.
Exactly.
I like that. So this has been a really great deep dive. We've covered so much. Flashcards, spaced repetition, immersion, even like finding the fun in language learning. Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
But I think the biggest takeaway for me is it's really about finding what works for you. You know?
Absolutely. There's no one-size-fits-all approach to language learning.
Right.
Yeah.
Like some people love flashcards, some people hate them.
Exactly.
And that's okay. Like find what you enjoy because that's how you're going to stay motivated.
And don't be afraid to experiment. Try different things. See what clicks.
Yeah, and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Yes. Every little bit of progress counts.
So to our listener out there, we challenge you to take what you've learned today and start putting it into practice. Pick one thing. Maybe it's trying out a new flashcard app, or labeling everything in your house, or even just looking up the etymology of a word,
Or all of the above.
or all of the above. Why not?
Exactly.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's about making progress and having fun along the way.
Exactly.
That's what makes it stick.
It does.
So keep diving deep. And we'll see you next time.